What started off as the worst job I'd ever been asked to do ended up as something really, really interesting.
I would give water to the thirsty, I returned the wanderer to the path and rescued the robbed. Every country against which I set out, I made my attack on it, and it was driven from its grasslands and wells. I plundered its herds and carried off its inhabitants and took away their food. I killed the people in it with my strong arm, with my bow, with my campaigns and with my excellent plans.
The Tale of Sinuhe is perhaps the best-known work to survive from ancient Egypt. It's an absolute masterpiece, composed by an anonymous author around 1850 BC. The poem is an exciting adventure story on one level. It tells how an official panics and leaves Egypt, lives most of his life abroad in the Levant, and then finally comes back to Egypt, thanks to the king's grace, to die and be buried in a royal pyramid. It charts a sequence of great personal crises, but we get a sense of what it is like to be human, to be worried, to be terrified, to have a sense that you are lost in the world.
Whatever God fated this flight, be gracious and bring me home. Surely you will let me see the place where my heart still stays. What matters more than my being buried in the land where I was born? This is my prayer for help.
It's wonderful to work with a performer like Barbara Ewing, who can bring a whole range of skill sets to the poem that academics usually lack in a very spectacular manner. And so she can give voice to the ancient words and, I think, allow people to hear the emotion and the passion. I think the poem, in a way, it's sort of a portrait of a human voice. And I think that's where it actually goes beyond the historical context, is where Sinuhe comes across as recognisably human, all too fallible. And I think the best way to get that across to people is to have it in the voice of a reciter, which is what it was designed for originally. It was not designed to be an academic commentary. And I think performance is absolutely essential to that side.
But it was always a male reciter, wasn't it?
Male or female, it doesn't matter. It's just got to
voice.
Be a human voice, the humanity.
Well, that was just another thing that I had, that I'm telling a man's story, and yet I had to sort of take all that away as well and just tell a story. How do you know that this is a fictional story? How do you know that the writer, the original writer, hasn't taken it from somebody's life or his own?
It's based on a reality. It's very naturalistic, but it is so cleverly shaped that I find it very hard to believe it is a genuine historical inscription. And there are lots of clues in the poem that hint at this. It fictionalizes itself. Sinuhe's name is gloriously appropriate for what happens to him.
Because?
Because it means the son of the sycamore, and that is this play with the sycamore goddess throughout the poem. But the main thing is the ending, because the ending is of a private official returning to Egypt to be buried in a royal pyramid. And that is just too happy an ending.
Perhaps he wasn't really what he seemed.
He certainly wasn't what he seemed. The poem isn't what it seems. It's just, it cannot, and all the way through the style is too complex. It pretends to be an official biography, but nobody reading it in the 12th dynasty would have been fooled. It's too dark. You could never say these things in an official text.
But it doesn't actually say them. It only, you can find them if you're looking for them.
Exactly, which is what poetry and fictional poetry does in the period. It is not what the state monuments do.
No. All right.
It cannot be real, but it cannot be completely fictional. It is based on real experiences, real countries, real situations in court. It's very close to lived experience. But I don't believe Sinuhe ever existed.
I had to have a story.
Yes.
I had to have a story about Sinuhe, about his relationship with the people in the
Yes.
court, and because in several times in the poem he has a sort of nervous breakdown, or
Yes.
so it felt to me.
Yes, absolutely.
And I couldn't have done that if I hadn't for myself found some reason for
Yes.
him to do that.
I think the poem invites that. It leaves so many gaps.
So you
Every reader is invited to imagine what it is like.
So you are saying anachronistic, although I'm not sure if that's the word, but whatever the word is when we're putting our own thing on it, are you saying that's a wrong thing to do?
No, I think it's a very passionate poem. It invites engagement by the reader, and it leaves everything open. And I think that's why it's so subversive. It challenges the idea that life is simple, black and white, and perfect.
Well, to me it was just a great big mountain. And I thought, I'm never, ever going to be able to do this. But I read every single note,
Yes.
and I made up my story, and I told it.
A pyramid of stone was built for me. It is His Majesty who has caused this to be done. There is no other wretch for whom the like was done. I was in the favours of the king's giving until the arrival of the day of landing. So it ends, from start to finish, as found in writing.